Another day at Rupert Murdoch's media empire, another public relations catastrophe. Never mind advertisers pulling away in disgust at reporters hacking the phones of murder victims. Now it's suggested the News of the World newspaper was intercepting the phones of families of soldiers killed in action in Iraq or Afghanistan. The News of the World had been campaigning on behalf of soldiers with the Royal British Legion. So guess what they and soldiers' families think now.
We work, obviously, with families, bereaved families, in a great deal of detail about how their loved ones died and going through the inquest procedure, etc. And we feel that given the sensitivities of that, it would be just inappropriate for us to be working with News of the World, given the nature of these allegations. And we've decided, therefore, to suspend our working with them until the inquiries have taken place.
It follows a week of claims like victims of the London bombings having their phones tapped and the families of children killed by paedophiles. In terms of morality, the big question is, just where is the bottom? Astonishing allegations of this kind, claims that police officers have taken bribes from journalists, aren't just an absolute gift to opponents of Rupert Murdoch's enormous media empire. They also raise quite profound questions about issues to do with British democracy, the idea of the rule of law in this country, the idea that Britain has some of the best press standards anywhere in the world, start to be called into question. The only comparable event in recent times here was the MP's expenses affair, a huge scandal which involved politicians being accused of fraud and some sent to jail. Anti-corruption campaigners say it all gives a sense of Britain not practicing what it preaches to other countries.
But I think what this whole sad episode reveals is that there is a certain degree of complacency about corruption in the UK. We have recently completed an in-depth study of that issue, and we have found that the problem is far more serious than is commonly accepted. And there are some particularly serious issues in certain sectors.
As of now, the government, whose Prime Minister has close links to the newspaper group, and the police, themselves accused of bribery, are the people carrying out the investigation. For all the expressions of shock, they will secretly wish it would all go away, but the rest of the media won't let it.
Lawrence Lee joins us now live with more. So Lawrence, who's going to be carrying out this investigation and how effective do we think it will be this time around?
Well, I think in the end, if you boil it down, the question is to do with complicity and the extent to which people are prepared thoroughly to investigate the actions of others who up until now have actually been their friends. First of all, you have people from this organisation who stand accused of hacking into the phones of dead people, murder victims and their relatives, and that's generally held to be absolutely abhorrent. That's now being investigated by the police, but police officers from London are accused of taking bribes in return for the phone numbers of dead people in order for them to be hacked from here. Now the police then are now under investigation by an independent body called the Police Complaints Commission, and so that's supposed to give some distance to that part of the investigation, but outside that you have a government inquiry ordered by the Prime Minister, who is known to be extremely close to the boss of this company, News International, her boss, Rupert Murdoch, and the former boss, who used to be David Cameron's press secretary. And so, to what extent do these people want to unearth everything to do with this, in case it might backfire on them? That's really, at the moment, the biggest question of all.
And Lawrence, of course, everyone's pointing the finger at the News of the World, but is this really the sort of thing that's restricted to just one newspaper? I guess that's another question people are asking.
Well, here they would say not, and in fact in recent days they've been trying to brief some of the television channels and trying to suggest that it's not only them and that other newspapers are engaged in the same sorts of practice, and I think it's widely held to be true that other newspapers employ private investigators, and there have been arrests from other organisations as well. But while up until this point I think it had been accepted, even if it was a bit unsavoury, that people like celebrities who thrive on publicity had been hacked, and that was a bit distasteful but not the end of the world. It's the industrial scale of this and the fact that murder victims and their parents might have their phones hacked, and the fact that the police said today that they're investigating potentially 4,000 phone hacking victims carried out potentially from here that's caught everybody entirely by surprise and has led to opposition politicians, more than the government, to say the government really needs to get on top of this and find out exactly where the actual end of this all is.
Lawrence Lee, thank you.